record this also. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, so yeah, so what I'm thinking is, let's start with I'll start with the cube, and so notice like that cube just got created there, right? I just
Where did
clicked
you
on it.
press? Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just pressed on it right here.
Okay.
And then if I press on it again, there's another cube, by the way, so that gets created on top of that. So I'm
Ah,
gonna use my move tool here. You see the move tool? And
yeah.
notice when I move it out, there's another one in there. So if you keep, I know a lot of students keep clicking, thinking, "Hey, why isn't it creating more cubes?" But they're all they're at that 0, 0 axis. So then you got to move them around. Then when you do that, then the other thing you want to do is like resize it. So you can resize it using the resize tool right here. You see
Okay.
that? So you're going to click on that, and you see the little handles, they change, right? You can grab from the middle, and then it resizes it, symmetrically, right? Or
Okay.
you can, for instance, just stretch it out this way, and keep stretching it out, and so on, right? You see? So then you get the size that you want, whichever way you want to go with.
Ah, okay.
So that's one method, right? So
Right.
what you saw in the video when he was creating the house was this other method, where, let me see if I can, okay, this thing is, I can't, it's on the way, okay.
There's a lot to this program.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's see, mesh, Windows modify. Edit mesh. I'm not seeing it here. There's a way to modify it so that when I click on that, I just click and drag, and then it creates it like he was doing.
Right.
So let me see if I can find it. It's not showing it. Okay, I'll go back to that in a few minutes. Anyway, so anyway, let's go ahead and create a cube. So here's, by the way, you can, in order to navigate, the other thing that you may want to find useful is to navigate in terms of your environment here. And one of the ways is to use the wheel, in your mouse. So notice how I'm zooming in and zooming out,
Right.
using the wheel. And the other way is, are you on a PC or Mac?
PC.
Okay, so then you would use, the Alt key. If you click on the Alt key, notice then I can rotate my environment using my left mouse.
Right.
So that's also very useful in terms of just navigating, and you see him doing that a lot, kind of thing, navigating here and there. And so that's holding the Alt key and then the left mouse. If you do hold the Alt key and the right mouse, then you can zoom in and zoom out also, type thing, okay? And then if you use the Alt key and the middle mouse, then it becomes a pan tool, okay? Or the wheel, if you press on it. Cool. Depending, like I have a multiple mouse thing. But anyway, yeah, so that's very useful in terms of what you need to do, okay?
Okay. And my project is basically wants to build a house.
Yeah. And so the other thing that you want to do, he uses a lot, is like, if you'll notice right over here on the side, on this panel right here, this is the modeling panel.
Yeah.
I'm clicking right here, the modeling panel. And then, so for instance, if I want to switch over from, like right now it's what he'll say, go to object selection, or object type. So that's when you click on this here. If he says go to the vertex type selection, you're going to click here. Then see, now I can select a single vertex, and then if I wanted to, then I can move it out. You see?
Got it.
So then if he says, go to and select an edge, he's going to talk about this right here, clicking on this edge right here. So now if I click an edge, then I'm pulling it out that way, you see?
Cool.
Yeah, whatever type of thing. If I need to rotate it, then I'm going to rotate using this rotating tool. Notice how I can rotate the object.
And how do you stack objects on top of each other?
Just move them on top of each other. So for instance, real quick, yeah, so let me just move this out of the way. Oops. So right now I'm still in the edge selection tool. That's why that happened. By the way, I can undo, like in any program, most programs you can Command Z. So I'm going to undo this back to where it was. So all I did was Command Z, Command Z, Command Z a few times. I'm going to go back to my object mode here so I can move it out of the way. And then I'm going to go ahead and resize it like I was showing you before, right?
Right.
All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and create another cube. And then I'm going to move that cube on top of it, right? So I move the cube and then I'll click and drag it to move it on top of this cube. And you start stacking things up. You see? Okay. Now, if you hit the space bar, by the way, then you go into the multiple view windows, which is kind of like what you see over here on the side. That's what you could do also by clicking on these same buttons right here. You go back to perspective or the multiple views, which is the top view, front view, and side view. And you can change those view in there too, if you wanted to, in terms of going right here to panels, perspective, or orthographic, front, side, or one at the back or left or whatever. So that's, again, within the view of that particular panel or view, perspective view. So if I click on, for instance, the top view here, and I'm not going to click. I'm just going to put my cursor in here, and then I click on it, and I hit the space bar. Notice now I have the top view of this object. So here are both objects. Now notice right here, the smaller object seems to have disappeared. So one way to handle this, if you're in the top view or in one of these what they call orthographic view, is to hit the number 4. So when I hit the number 4, I go in my wireframe mode. You see? Okay. So in the wireframe mode, I can see, okay, oh, there's my object right there. And I can move my object like at this corner over here or something like that. Okay.
And to make it solid, to paint it?
To make it, again, you hit 5. Okay. So notice I lose it in this type of view. But if I go to the front view, notice I'm moving my cursor right here, hitting the space bar, and there's my front view. And I go, oh, I need to move it down a little bit more. Okay, so there we go. Got it. And so on. So I'll hit the space bar, and then I'll move my cursor here, and I'm back in this view type of thing. So then from here, I can move it around, whatever. Resize it one more time if I need to, make a beam or whatever, that type thing. Oops. Got it. And so on, right? So you start stacking it on top of that, and so on. Basically, you're just moving objects around using these tools right here. Now, the other tool that he talks a lot about is, for instance, this one tool called under the edit mesh. Actually, let's see, is it under edit mesh? No, it's under mesh tool. So under mesh tool, insert edge loop. So he'll cover that, but that's another tool that is to segment your cubes or whatever, or your primitives that you have in there. So under mesh tool, insert edge loop. Then this is where you add these individual edges. You see, like I'm doing right now. Right. And then that means that these become segmented now. And if I want, and so if I go back to, for instance, this vertex, selecting the vertex, oops. In order to get out of it, you need to click on another tool. So I'm still here in this tool, right, in the intersegmented edge loop tool. So I'm going to click here. And now I can select this, for instance, and if I wanted to, again, just pull it out or whatever, right? Got it. So that's how you're going to kind of change the shape, how you're going to move things around. The other thing, if you get lost in whatever type of thing, you're looking for a particular object or or he talks about something, you can go in the help in the find menu, and then usually type in what you need to look for. You know, let's see, move tool. So this is where you would find it, modify a transaction, that and so on and so on. So it shows you where to kind of find it, right?
Cool.
Anyway, let me see something here.
Yeah, I'll be here at the house all day today. I'll see if I can catch up on some stuff.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. That'll be good. My suggestion would be that you go jump into and do the based on what I just showed you.
Yeah.
You can actually go into the third Maya stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Because this way you'll get the full 20. Hopefully you'll get the full 20 points, and then if you still have time, go back and do the second one. The first one is kind of lost at this point.
Got it.
So yeah, I would just go back and do that first one.
Okay.
Let me see here. Let's UV selection. Damn it.
Okay, so I'll concentrate on the third one to see if I can get 100%.
Yeah, and so by the way, so in this particular panel too, you'll see that you have extrude, that you have target weld, and multi-cut. These are the tools that you're also going to be using in, for instance, in this third, in the third video.
Okay.
So you're going to be using that. Let me see something here. Another thing that they do a lot is, for instance, is to right mouse click or go into the object mode, or in any one of the modes, right? And they'll say shift right mouse click. And then this is the same tools you see on the side. See the target weld, the multi-cut, the insert edge loop tool which I created, these edges right here. And also, and by the way, if you do this, if this happens to you, just go back to that circle. You see how I went back to the circle?
Right.
So if there's more options, like for instance, the soft hard edge type option, notice there's a little pop-up arrow in the side. So when I blow that goes into these particular options. So if I need to go back to the general tool, then I'm going to click back to that circle. I'm going to go back to that circle, you see? And that's how you can go back to that particular circle.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, so let me see here. Oh, man, it's bugging me that I can't think of that. How to switch it so that you can use. Let me see here. You know what? I'll think of it later, and then I'll email it to you. Okay.
Okay. I'll be here.
I'll email it in the email that we've been working on. I think for the most part, I think that's it in terms of what you need to do. The different views. Don't worry about it when you do the when you do the house. One of the things that you may or may not come across is that let me see here, is that you may or may not have Arnold, which is a type of material to load on the, see it says Arnold right here?
Yeah.
So those are the materials and different lightings, but you also have the different type of lightings that you can work with in Maya. So for instance, if I want to, and you'll notice he'll say, again, right mouse or left mouse click, or right mouse click. And by the way, you can select the edges and the face, the same thing I was doing over here.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that type of thing, that type of selection that way. Okay, so so here's object mode, and also when he goes to, again, I'm right mouse clicking, and then assign new material. Now, so notice right here, what I purposely took out Arnold, because you may not have Arnold, but you have all these other type of materials that you can use, that you can put on there. One of the more common ones is to use the Fong E. And then once you assign to it, which I just did, then you can go see this tab right here, says attribute editor.
Yes.
So they'll talk about the attribute editor. So that's where you're going to find, here's the attribute, the material attribute, I just assigned it Fung E.
Okay.
So I have my object there. And so for instance, here's where you mess with the transparency of it. Notice now it's transparent over here. Well, you can.
Right. Relative accuracy.
Yeah, you can see. And then the specular level, that's usually where I think I wrote that on there in terms of highlights and all that kind of stuff to get it to look more like a mirror or not a mirror, glass or something like that. So for instance, so now you have that, and then you can render it up here. See how it's a little, and this is the render view, clicking on this icon.
Okay.
Okay. So when he asks you to render it, that's what he's talking about. But again, focus more on focus more on getting the third project done, which I think it will be helpful, and even to go back to the second project. Because what's going to happen is that I don't know if you looked at the final yet, but eventually the final you're going to either create some type of house or some type of a character model and use it within your game. Eventually you'll be going into what do you call it? You'll be going into Unity to create your game and things like that.
Right.
And then that's where you're going to, you'll, and then on there you'll see later on, I have on there how to take your model. So whatever you create here to be able to use it in Unity. And there's a link on there. So you don't have to worry about that for now. Because eventually that's what you're going to do. You're going to create these models or whatever, and then bring it into Unity and use it. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about in terms of interactively creating your primitives. So you're going to go to, on top of the menu, create polygon primitive, and you'll notice when that interactive creation is unchecked. So you want to click on that to make sure it's checked. So then now when I go to my cube and I click and drag, it creates, whatever size I want it to start with in terms of the base on it. Then I'm going to click again, and then to either go, down or up in terms of the height of the cube. Okay. So let me move this over to sign. I'm going to hit the letter W for a shortcut for the move tool. Then again, if I hit in terms of click on the cone, I'm going to click and drag the base of the cone, whatever size I want it to be, and then click and drag up, and so on. So that's basically how you're going to create most of your objects using the interactive tool part of it. Again, that was under Create, Polygon Primitives, and notice it's checked right now, so I'm going to leave it checked. Okay.